Oh, snap. What's crack-a-lack, baby? Okay, we're going to be checking out this video by Evil Blitz. It's going to be the Umbrella's Dark History Explained, okay? We about to be learning it today, all right? You feel me? Let's go. Okay, let's get to it.
This is the entire history of the Umbrella Corporation. From its earliest experiments hidden behind the promise of medical progress, to its rise as the most powerful pharmaceutical company in the world, all the way to the destruction of Raccoon City and the global fallout that followed. Umbrella's story is one of ambition without restraint, a pursuit of human evolution that abandoned morality in favor of control. It's a journey filled with secrecy, betrayal, and the quiet manipulation of governments that allowed bioterror to spread unchecked for decades. And while the company itself would eventually collapse, the damage it caused reshaped the world forever.
Okay.
Starting all the way back in the early decades of the 20th century, Europe and North America were gripped by a dangerous obsession, being eugenics, the belief that humanity could and should.
All right, then. You know what? I'm going to leave that alone.
Be improved through selective control of biology. This obsession dominated academic debate, scientific circles, and political ambition, and it was within this climate that the minds behind Umbrella first crossed paths. Their names were Oswald E. Spencer, Edward Ashford, and Dr. James Marcus. All three were university classmates and
okay. The only person who I know about is Spencer. That's the only person I know about, because I know, like, in Resident Evil 5, Wesker just shoots this dude. He's just awesome. That right is now mine. You know what I'm saying? Wesker. Okay, yeah. This is the only person I know. I don't know who these people are. So, yeah, I'm straight up learning today. You know, honestly, I'm pretty sure all this, like, information is probably, like, in the little files and collectibles you get as you play the game. But, you know, like, sometimes I, like, skim them. Other times I'm just like, yeah, I just let it go. I just want to keep going. You know what I'm saying?
Biologists, and they all believed that human evolution was not complete and it merely lacked direction. For Spencer, that conviction took root during his time in Eastern Europe. As a student of a mysterious figure known as Mother Miranda, Spencer came to a dark conclusion: that the human body could be transformed through infection, and that viruses were not merely agents of disease, but instruments of change.
Mother Miranda. Wait, is that Resident Evil 8 stuff? Oh, I think I'm spoiling myself. It's okay. It's okay. I gotta figure out what happened. But I don't think they're gonna cover stuff like past Resident Evil 8.
Now, during his stay in Miranda's remote village, Spencer encountered an ancient symbol, being the crest of the four houses.
What? That's where the umbrella symbol came from?
Emblem passed down through generations, and at the time, it meant nothing more than tradition. But years later, it would become the face of Umbrella. Following this, Umbrella's true prehistory would begin in 1966. That year, James Marcus put forward a radical hypothesis. Deep within West African folklore existed legends of a mythical flower known as the Stairway of the Sun, a plant said to grant extraordinary power to those who consumed it. Marcus theorized that the legends were not metaphorical, but biological, that the flower carried a mutagenic virus capable of reshaping life itself. A joint expedition to the Napaya tribal lands confirmed the unthinkable. Hidden beneath the earth was an underground garden where the flowers still grew, and within it, they discovered a virus unlike anything science had ever cataloged. This virus would later be known as the progenitor virus. However,
okay, progenitor virus came from Africa. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Attempts to cultivate the flower outside Africa had failed. The virus weakened, mutated, or died altogether. The source could not be replicated, but instead it had to be preserved, extracted, and transported. And for that, aristocratic wealth was no longer enough.
Wait, okay, so they couldn't grow it outside of Africa? So they had to grow it in Africa and then take out the whatever, you know, the good stuff from it. Cause I was like, how did it end up in Raccoon City if it, you know what I'm saying?
Recognizing the scale of what they had uncovered, Spencer took decisive action, and in 1968, he formally established Umbrella Pharmaceuticals, a company with a public goal for
1968.
medicine, but in reality, it had a private purpose for evolution. A permanent research base was established near the Napaya Garden to facilitate the extraction and transport of progenitor samples across the Atlantic, but even that was not sufficient. The work demanded more funding and infrastructure, and their solution was a compromise that would shape the next half-century of global catastrophe. Spencer, Ashford, and Marcus agreed to pursue what would later be called the T-Virus Project. Rather than selling progenitor directly, each would independently develop modified strains. These variants would be offered to the United States military as potential biological weapons.
Why, bro? Okay, did they decide to all work on separate things because they're like, okay, you know, 3 heads are better than 1 if we go in 3 different directions, one of us is going to find something good? Or did they just not agree and this caused like a divide between them? And they're like, you know what? Like, they couldn't decide on the best way to go about developing it. So like, well, I'm going to do it my way. And, you know, no, I'm going to do it my way. You know what I'm saying?
As a means of securing both funding and influence.
Dude, look at this. Progenitor virus, T virus, okay. Antivirus, T Veronica, okay. T Veronica, okay, gotcha. Co-Veronica, oh my gosh. G virus, any T virus, Plagas, Las Plagas, Resident 4, oh my gosh. T Abyss, what's that? Uroboros, Resident 5, oh my gosh. So 4, 5, yeah. The C virus. I don't know all these are, you know what I'm saying? But you know, we getting there.
It was the first time Umbrella tied its future to government power.
Also, why y'all gotta sell to the government? Like, I don't know how we're gonna do this. Let's make deadly weapons and sell it to people. That's how we can fund our ventures because we're good. Yeah, we just want to evolve, so let's help. It's so dumb, dude. I hate this.
By the late 1970s, the project had grown beyond its original scope. Under the guidance of Dr. William Birkin, T-Virus research shifted dramatically. The virus was no longer viewed solely as a weapon of death, but as a tool of sustained mutation. Birkin's work demonstrated something unprecedented, being that infected hosts could remain biologically active.
This footage is like me, straight up missing everything. You know what? Let's just chalk it up to like, you know what? I don't want to hurt you. Marv. Our boy.
Even after cardiac arrest, they could move, hunt, and kill with catastrophic aggression, stripped of higher reasoning, but driven by a relentless need to feed. And now, what began as an academic dream of human perfection had now quietly transformed into something far more dangerous. Umbrella's corruption had been born,
Yeah, that
and the
is
world
messed
had
up.
no idea what it was becoming. Following the days as Umbrella's reach expanded, its greatest threat no longer came from governments or rivals, but instead it came from within. The alliance that had given birth to Umbrella was never stable, as its founders were bound by ambition and not trust. And as the company's power grew, so too did the fractures between them. The first fall was with Edward Ashford. In 1968, Ashford was killed during a laboratory incident involving a prototype strain of the T-Virus. Officially, his death was ruled an unfortunate failure of containment, but privately, few within Umbrella believed it was an accident, and evidence would later suggest that Spencer himself had engineered the circumstances of Ashford's demise.
You off your boy? I knew it, bro. I wouldn't trust these mofos as far as I can tell. Bro, ain't no way, dude. People who are trying to do this type of ish coming together go like, yeah, we're gonna come together. Yeah, eventually. I gotta, bro. Okay, listen here. Ain't no way these big-headed mofos are gonna come through and be like, yeah, we're gonna, evolve society together. Nah, one of these, actually, all these mofos want to be the number one, period. They want to be the one on top, and they want to take all the credit. You know what? Because they egomaniacal and whatnot.
means of eliminating a rival whose vision no longer aligned with his own. And just like that, James Marcus followed 2 decades later. Brilliant, obsessive, and increasingly unstable, Marcus had grown isolated even among Umbrella's inner circle. His use of executive trainees as human test subjects drew internal backlash, not for ethical reasons, but for liability. And in 1988,
wow! I don't care about the ethics, dog. They're just like, hey, you messing with our pockets, dog. You gotta go.
Own security service executed Marcus inside his laboratory.
What?
His research was seized and his name erased. And by the end of the 1980s, Oswald E. Spencer stood alone. Those who would challenge him were gone, while others were quietly contained. Brandon Bailey, one of Marcus's protégés, was forcibly confined to Umbrella's African facilities for decades to prevent the exposure of progenitor research, and he would ultimately be executed in 1998. The remaining collaborators, Dr. Henry and Beardsley, would eventually die at some point in the early 1990s. And their daughters Christine and Mylene would inherit their—
Yo, Spencer was just offing everybody. He was like, good job. Well, Baker, it's over. I got what I needed from you. Yo, Spencer was a little gangster. I'm not gonna lie, dude.
Facilities in Europe, but they would never be permitted to rise high enough to threaten Spencer's control. By the early 1980s, researchers made a discovery that—
Bro, who's the dude? Is that shades or is his eyes gone? What is this? Hold on.
In Spencer's control. By the early 1980s, researchers made a discovery that reshaped the company's trajectory, being that rare individuals possessed partial immunity to the T-virus. This revelation transformed the virus from a blunt weapon into a tool for refinement, and with that, Umbrella laboratories across the globe began developing bioorganic weapons, or BOWs for short, which are creatures engineered to hunt survivors, enforce containment, and replace conventional soldiers. By this point, Umbrella had grown too vast to function as a single entity. Umbrella USA emerged as the corporation's dominant branch, headquartered in Chicago and overseeing America.
Not Chi-Town! The Windy City. It's a good place. But not for Umbrella. Y'all get out.
American research, administration, and military contracts. Its crown jewel was the Arclay Lab in the mountains outside Raccoon City, as it became the epicenter of T-virus development until the opening of the Nest facility in 1991. It was there that Umbrella began work on the G-virus, a progenitor viral strain that possessed regenerative properties unlike anything seen before. It could repair dead tissue, reconstruct organs, and in theory, create superhumans.
Okay, that's freaking insane. Like, reconstruct organs? Okay, that is so cool, like, in theory, but looking at this is disgusting, dog. Like, if you can maintain your human form, you lost the liver, oh no, like, and then you can, like, just regenerate it. That's cool. Not what the heck Berkey is. That's nasty. I don't want it.
Fulfilling Oswald Spencer's original dream of—
I don't care if it gave me immortality. If I look dumb, I don't want to do it.
Engineered evolution. It was during this creation that Umbrella Europe's branches became frustrated by Umbrella USA's dominance, so they decided to consolidate their resources during the 1980s to form Umbrella Europe. Their solution to the T-virus's fatal flaw of catastrophic brain damage was the creation of the Nemesis Project. Rather than preserving the human mind, they sought to replace it. An intelligent parasite would assume control of infected hosts, restoring function and obedience.
What? Okay, so the original virus, right? It messed with the brain, so just pretty much destroyed the brain. This one, instead of like saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to keep the brain," they're like, "No, we're just going to make an intelligent parasite and infect the infected thing." What the heck? Okay. I see. They just want a complete control. If you have your human mind or whatever, not everybody's gonna be like, yes, sir, no, sir. Some people go like, wait, you want me to do what, sir? I don't think so, sir. And then so you got a superhuman who's like, yeah, I don't think I want to do that. Could you imagine engineering like a super soldier and he's just like, yes, sir. It's like, okay, I need you to go over there and shoot these people. Wait, what? Nah, I won't do that. It's like, what are you gonna do now? Like, what are you gonna do to them? They can regenerate organs. I mean, you can shoot them, but like, so I see what they're like. They're like, okay, this is a liability. I'm starting to understand the methodology of these corrupted umbrella peoples.
This project would run alongside Umbrella USA's Tyrant program to develop a superhuman weapon, and it would go on to produce the Nemesis T-Type in 1998, while Umbrella USA's own response was the Talos Project, which was an attempt to bypass biology entirely by linking Tyrants to artificial intelligence systems. During
that's
this time,
cool.
Umbrella's Japan branch managed advanced biotechnology and mechanical research. The company also acquired four ships, being the Queen Zenobia, the Queen Dido, the Queen Samarius, and Spencer Rain, which would transport biology entirely by linking Tyrants to artificial intelligence systems. During this time, Umbrella's Japan branch managed advanced biotechnology and mechanical research. The company also acquired four ships, being the Queen Zenobia, the Queen Dido, the Queen Samarius, and Spencer Rain, which would transport bioweapons cargo. Private aircrafts would also transport cargo via the Antarctic Transport Terminal, a facility originally built for Ashford's research. The company also recruited nearly a third of Raccoon City's population to work for Umbrella subsidiaries.
Holy crap, a third of the population worked for Raccoon City? I mean, worked for Umbrella, dog? That's wild, dude. That is, okay. That's, okay. Just imagine Amazon coming to your town, which they probably already are, right? And they open up a distribution center and subsidiaries, and a third of everybody in your town works for one freaking company. Like, that's freaking insane, dude. Like, that's insane. I haven't lived in a place where that's a thing. I'm pretty sure that's a thing, you know what I mean? But like, I haven't seen it. It just sounds weird, dystopian. I don't trust it. One company, like everybody work. Yeah, I don't trust it. Maybe it's like, yeah.
The company was not an employer. It was infrastructure. Hospitals, manufacturing plants, and research facilities. Entire neighborhoods depended on it.
That's the problem. Entire neighborhoods depended on one company. To be gracious, I'm not saying to actually give good wages and whatnot. I don't know. I can't.
1990s, when the Soviet Union collapsed, Umbrella seized the opportunity. Paramilitary.
Also, okay, just a little thing. I love when, fictional, like, stories integrate, like, real world stories. Like, you know what I mean? To interweave it. I think that's so cool and creative. Because it's hard to make that work and make it make sense, especially when you're having these fantastical elements. The true stuff that happens in like our world, right, could be like that grounding mechanism that you need to make sure that the story still feels real and it makes sense. Also, F this guy. I don't like you, Nikolai. Screw you. I'm not sorry. I am not sorry. Screw you, Nikolai. I hate Nikolai. Anyways, I like when they do that kind of stuff. It's really, really cool.
Forces expanded rapidly. The Umbrella Biohazard Countermeasure Service and Umbrella Security Service recruited mercenaries, former Warsaw Pact soldiers, and
okay, whoever this dude, he's with the shiz. He already know. He got the good picture of Carlos. He's like, oh,
Security
Carlos.
Service recruited mercenaries, former Warsaw
ugly
Pact
ass,
soldiers.
bitch ass. Look at this. I can't stand you. They got the ugly. Good job with the picture. Okay, don't give him no credit, no juice. Don't make him look good. Look, yeah, give him the props that he deserves for being a coward, an ugly face coward. Look at him. You smell something nasty. Guess what you smelling? Yourself, nigga. Let's keep going.
And detained insurgents. And in 1994, a dedicated anti-BOW training facility was established on Rockford Island, administered by Alfred Ashford, the son of Edward Ashford. The military arm reached its peak under their new leader, Colonel Sergei Vladimir. His unique genetic traits allowed Umbrella to mass-produce tyrants by experimenting on his clones. By 1998,
What?
Umbrella possessed a private army equipped with helicopters, jets, transport aircraft, and ground forces armed to rival.
Why does this look like some cosplay shit, dude? This has to be, dude. I can't. Is this real? No. Like, is this like as far as like real like promotional material for Resident Evil? Because if it is, this looks like some cosplay ass stuff.
National militaries. Then their reach extended into intelligence when Umbrella planted operatives within the United States military itself. One of them was Dr. Albert Wesker, where they learned of America's true motive to eventually ditch support for Umbrella with the reactivation of their own bioweapons program. But in the midst of it all, Umbrella's influence remained absolute, to the point where everything managed to be covered up.
Wait, what is the, okay, so they're going to ditch Umbrella for a new for a government ran, project. What was that? Did that ever happen?
In West Africa, when plant number 57 suffered a containment breach, the response was immediate and absolute. The UBCS was deployed to the surrounding town, not to evacuate it, but to erase it. Every resident was killed, and the massacre was quietly classified, and the host government ensured that no record of the incident reached the outside world. Then the pattern repeated elsewhere that no record of the incident reached the outside. Quietly classified, and the host government ensured that no record of the incident reached the.
Is this wait, hold on. Okay, as I'm watching this, I recently just finished Resident Evil 3 remake, and this didn't happen to me. Is this a possible ending that you can get? Because he just killed Carlos, slit Carlos' throat, and then just threw a knife in Baby Jill's head. Like, is that a thing? That didn't happen to my end. Nikolai, yeah.
Was quietly classified, and the host government ensured that no record of the
incident. You know what? I think I know what's going on. I think, okay, there's a point where it's like, shoot him. You know what I'm saying? Carlos got him in the headlock or whatever. And you supposed to shoot him. I shot him in his wee-wee. That's what he get. But like, you supposed to, shoot him. Maybe if you don't shoot him, right? This is what happens. Which is cool. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Reach the outside world. Then the pattern repeated elsewhere. In the early 1990s, a hospital in the Arklay Mountains became the site of a human experimentation program that quickly spiraled out of control. Patients disappeared and staff were silenced. When the incident finally collapsed under its own weight, there was no police investigation. No arrests were made. The media failed to identify Umbrella's involvement, and the hospital was permanently closed in 1993 without explanation. One reporter attempted to pursue the truth in 1996, but it wasn't long after when he was found murdered, with his body discovered in the Ames River. No suspects were named. No connection was drawn between his death and the hospital case he had been investigating.
Okay, imagine, dog. It was okay, just stay with me. Imagine Amazon was like, because they are. Amazon is already like, spreading out their tendrils and whatnot. They're not just e-commerce, dude. They do like medicine. They're pharmaceuticals and stuff like that. But just imagine, dude, in a world where Amazon was like, they come to your town. They build a whole bunch of stuff. They got, police force. They got some, they took over CVS and it's just Amazon, like all these places. And then all of a sudden, mofos start disappearing and whatnot. It's like, what it costs to get 2-day delivery, nickel. I don't know why that's funny to me, but that would be messed up. But that's like what Umbrella's doing, dude. It's so messed up. They come to a town, pretty much take it over, and then using its residents to their own, for their own freaking devices, dog.
Silence held. These incidents were not anomalies. They were proof of how deeply Umbrella's reach had embedded itself within governments, law enforcement, and the media itself.
Bro, they owned
Entire communities could be
everything!
erased.
What are you gonna
Evidence
do?
could vanish. The
You
truth
can't
could be drowned without consequence. Umbrella had become untouchable. To the world, it was a pharmaceutical giant, but behind closed doors, it was something far more sinister. However, the truth would not stay hidden forever. Cracks began to emerge in the year of 1998.
98.
Umbrella's control began to unravel, not from a single failure, but from two forces converging at once. The first was espionage, and the second was betrayal. Inside Umbrella USA, security had already been compromised. A foreign intelligence operative, HA5UN0 infiltrated the company on behalf of a rival firm engaged in bioorganic weapons research. By embedding herself within Umbrella's research pipeline, and through a personal relationship with Dr. John Clemens, the newly appointed chief of research at
Wait, John Clemens? Okay, he has that Leon haircut, dog. I'm not gonna lie. Also, this picture looks weird. I can't explain it. It just feels uncanny. I don't know why, but it's just, yeah.
the Arclay laboratory, she managed to quietly extract sensitive information on active projects.
Okay. Ada was a double agent. So she worked for Umbrella, but first she worked for another rival corporation. Okay. I was wondering, like, who is Ada and like why is Ada? You know what I'm saying?
The data she uncovered was something far more valuable than the T virus, being the G virus.
I'm learning a lot.
During this time, events were already spiraling out of control in the Arclay Mountains. In May of that year, a containment failure occurred at the Arclay lab. Official records never identified a cause, but an experimental bioorganic weapon developed years earlier by Dr. James Marcus was responsible, and it was known as the Queen Leech. When it escaped containment, the laboratory was sealed, but the damage was already done, as the Cerberus units breached their enclosures and fled into the surrounding wilderness. Over the following weeks, hikers vanished. Bodies were discovered partially consumed. Survivors were hospitalized with bite wounds, and it wasn't long after when they began to attack others. The infection spread outward.
The messed up thing about like a zombie infection, if you don't know that it's like a zombie infection, the normal stuff that you would do in order to help people are the exact same things that's going to destroy a population. It's so messed up. Knowledge is power.
Silence. Umbrella deployed armed response teams into the Arclays to try and reopen the nearby training school, but they failed to contain the outbreak every single time. And it was at this point that Umbrella made a decision that would expose its corruption. Since 1996, Albert Wesker had retired from the United States military and assumed command of STARS, a specialized law enforcement unit operating independently of the Raccoon City Police Department, and funded by Umbrella itself, wanting to cover up the incident.
I did not know STARS was like funded by Umbrella. Why would I think? Okay, wow. I thought they were actually a part of the police department. No, it said. If what he's saying is right, they're independent of them. But they independent, but I'm assuming that they work in conjunction with them.
And Umbrella issued Wesker his orders: send STARS team into the mountains, allow the BOWs to kill them, record combat data, recover research files, erase all evidence, and destroy the facility. Wesker accepted the mission, but in reality, he had plans of his own. He judged Umbrella to be finished, and rather than deliver his findings, Wesker staged his death during the destruction of the Arclay lab. He escaped the explosion with critical data in hand, defecting to Umbrella's rival. 4 surviving members of STARS.
Defecting to the rival. Wow, Albert. Wow. Okay. And staged his death. This dude he's a freaking menace, dog.
Believing him dead, unknowingly corroborated the lie. Meanwhile, another fracture formed at the heart of the company. William Birkin had dedicated his life to Umbrella's research. Yet, despite his achievements, Oswald Spencer refused him entry into the inner circle. Birkin understood what the rejection meant, that his value had an expiration date, so he prepared to leave. Birkin planned to defect to the United States military, offering them samples of both the T-virus and the G-virus in exchange for protection. In the weeks leading up to the exchange, Birkin dumped T-virus into sewer treatment plants and disposal facilities, including the newly opened P12A site used to process failed experiments. The virus spread slowly through the infrastructure.
This piece of doo-doo, he put it in the, oh my god. Okay, screw Birkin. At first I felt bad. I was like, dang, he's just like a passionate, doctor, scientist, and he just wants, this is my life's work. Oh my god, you can't take it away from me. No, he was just like a bitter ass bitch, dog. And he's gonna
structure, and by mid-September, Raccoon General Hospital was under strict quarantine for what—
Dude, it was already spreading, right? It was definitely already spreading, but it was mainly in the mountains, and people, obviously hikers disappearing, people coming to the hospital with bite marks, stuff like that. It's going to spread like that, but this still possible to contain. But he's put it in he put it in a waste supply. Was it water supply and whatnot? Yo, it's freaking ridiculous.
The doctors labeled as a cannibal disease. To delay Umbrella, he bribed Police Chief Brian Irons to clear the sewers, allowing a lone officer to patrol the area. But once Umbrella Security Service teams moved in with explosives to recover the G-virus samples, Birkin responded decisively by releasing his Hunter bioweapons. They slaughtered the remaining research staff and his own guards, so as to make him and his wife Annette the only people aware of the G-virus. But once the Umbrella Security Service deployed its Alpha team into the sewers to recover the G-virus, Agent Hunk and his unit intercepted William Birkin during the extraction. It was here that Birkin was shot, and the case containing the virus was seized. But what they failed to see was the vial still in his possession. Mortally wounded and out of options, Birkin injected himself with the G-virus, and what emerged was no longer human. His transformation was violent and immediate. He tore through the sewer system, killing or crippling every member of the recovery team except Hunk himself. The stolen case was
Hunk is the sole survivor of Alpha Team, dog.
Destroyed, and the mission collapsed, and with that, the infection spread. The T-virus flooded the sewer ecosystem. Rats and giant cockroaches competed briefly and violently for dominance. And once the rats won, they fled toward the nearby lake, which would result in the virus reaching the city's water supply. And from that moment on, the outbreak was irreversible.
That's how they got the water supply. Okay.
Executives were fully aware. Hospitals reported mass admissions for what doctors described as a cannibal disease. The virus was no longer confined to isolated facilities. It was in the population. Tens of thousands had already been exposed. Umbrella responded publicly with evacuation orders, but privately, the city had become something else. The UBCS was deployed under the pretense of civilian rescue, but in reality, Raccoon City was now a live fire testing ground. Umbrella USA and Umbrella Europe seized the opportunity to field their weapons. The Nemesis T-type was inserted with a singular objective: hunt and eliminate surviving STARS members. This was retaliation for the loss of the T-002 Tyrant, and a trial run for controlled intelligent BOW deployment. Experimental Hunter Betas and Hunter Gamma units were also released for combat testing, and the UBCS did not last long.
So all of these bosses that you're fighting, they're there because Umbrella was like, okay, we fucked up. How can we capitalize off of this? Let's test this stuff. Let's test these BOWs. And so when we're selling these mofos, we're like, hey, bro, you remember Raccoon City? Look at this. We got footage, baby. Battle data. Give me some bajillion of $3, okay? I can't stand Umbrella, dog.
Soon after their arrival on September 26th, the force was annihilated. Federal troops and the National Guard withdrew behind quarantine lines, sealing off the city completely. The survivors were completely abandoned, and Raccoon City was no longer being saved, it was being written off. And behind closed doors, a contingency plan moved forward. Government official Derek C. Simmons leveraged his position within the U.S. government to push for total eradication. And on October 1st, the National Security Council, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the President authorized the destruction of the city. In the aftermath, the truth did not die with the city, since the U.S. military recovered samples of the G-virus, and every trace of evidence was destroyed or—
Wait, so, okay, I'm trying to figure out who all got out with the G virus out of Raccoon City. So we have Albert Wesker, right? We got Ada, which they're working together. Like technically, they're working together, and the government. I think. Also, wait. No, Umbrella got out because Hunk from Alpha Team, right? He recovered it from Birkin, the case, right? From Birkin. So Umbrella got it. So they blew it up, but the virus is still made. Like, it's like the only loss for real, are on the freaking citizens of Raccoon City. Let's be real. They're taking the biggest L. Umbrella's still up. They're like, okay, wow, okay, we might have lost some money, research facilities and blah, 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 but we got a chance to test our BOWs, you know what I'm saying? Which you can turn around, we can flip those, make some money, little cha-ching there. And then we got our, all the research, the data, we still got that too.
Covered up. In
This
the
is
weeks
sad.
following the city's destruction, the silence that had protected Umbrella for decades had finally fractured. In an emergency session, lawmakers voted to suspend Umbrella USA's right to operate within the United States and federalize their assets. On the other hand, the president, already under scrutiny for authorizing the destruction of Raccoon City, decided to resign under public pressure. The justification for the bombing could not be defended, both legally and morally. Early newspaper reports from survivors described monsters, experiments, and corporate negligence. Among them was an investigative journalist named Alyssa Ashcroft.
Alyssa Ashcroft, oh my gosh! Is this going into Resident Evil 9? Yes.
Reporting pointed directly at Umbrella, but the broader implications with the existence of bioorganic weapons and the global scale of viral research were all quietly buried, and the threat was covered up. With Raccoon City...
Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you. Going through this lore and stuff like this is actually pretty fun. It makes... I like it. Even though while I'm playing the game, sometimes I don't like to sit there and read the stuff, but I do like knowing the information because it makes experiencing the other stuff so much more valuable, so much more deeper. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I feel like it's a little nod to you whenever they put in those little details into a game. You're like, oh, I know who that is, or I know why they're doing this, or blah, blah, or you're watching a show or a movie and you see the little, the remnants of the lore and stuff like that. It's just little rewarding, little trinkets, you know what I'm saying? Little good snacks for you to feast on while you're eating your main meal, which is the game or the movie or the show. This is really cool.
Raced and an entire U.S. Army team lost during the incident, the Department of Defense shifted strategy. Under STRATCOM, a new division was formed, the Anti-Umbrella Pursuit and Investigation Team. Its mandate was to track, contain, and eliminate bioorganic threats before they reached public awareness. And to that end, the Antivirus Weapon Protocol number 7600 was authorized. This order permitted unilateral operations in foreign nations without consent, should a bioterror outbreak be detected. Umbrella was no longer treated as a corporation, but a hostile force instead. And inside Umbrella itself, Spencer acted first. Recognizing that the progenitor virus was now a liability rather than an asset, Spencer ordered Umbrella's African facilities shut down in November. Research was terminated, records were erased, and all personnel were eliminated, including employee Brandon Bailey. That same month, a quieter operation unfolded.
But this is on par for who Spencer is. Oh my gosh, I paused just in time for the see Leon. This must be right before Resident Evil 4. Between Resident Evil 2 to Resident Evil 4.
Kennedy, now operating under STRATCOM authority, dispatched private investigator Art Thompson to Umbrella's Sheena Island facility to investigate how much of Umbrella's infrastructure still remained intact.
Oh my god, look at
the
those
response
graphics!
Was catastrophic. Believing Art Thompson to be an Umbrella intelligence operative recording illegal activity, the facility's commander Vincent Goldman initiated containment measures that escalated into a full outbreak, and what followed was the island collapsing into chaos. By the time the incident ended, only Art Thompson and 2 children were believed to have survived. And Umbrella's Tyrant mass production facility on the island was destroyed in the resulting explosion. By September, the collapse accelerated. Umbrella's military training camp on Rockford Island came under assault by HCF, a rival paramilitary organization armed with hunter units that were developed using stolen data from the Arclay lab by
Oh
Albert
my
Wesker.
gosh.
The island was quickly overrun,
That's what
and
y'all
Umbrella's
get.
forces were wiped out. The remaining survivors fled to the Arctic Transport Terminal, but they brought the T-virus with them, and shortly after, the terminal fell into outbreak conditions and was ultimately destroyed when former STARS member Chris Redfield activates its self-destruct system. Slowly but surely, Umbrella was losing territory, assets, and control of its own people. And by 2003,
That's what you get when you keep betraying your own people, dog. Destroyed from the inside out.
Umbrella Corporation was no longer an empire, but a mere remnant. The company's remaining leadership consolidated what little power it had left into a single location, being a chemical processing facility in Caucasus, quietly purchased in 1998 through a shell corporation. What had once been a contingency site became Umbrella's last operational stronghold. This facility was placed under the
we will
command
blow
of
this
Colonel
up too.
Sergei Vladimir, and within its walls, Umbrella prepared its final gambit, being the Talos Project, a tyrant equipped with computer-controlled assault armor that was recovered from the Arclay lab shortly before Albert Wesker's betrayal. The base also stored the UMF-013, a powerful supercomputer containing the totality of Umbrella's research archives. Every virus, every failure, and every crime. If Umbrella collapsed, whoever claimed that data would inherit its legacy. With this data, bioorganic weapons once deemed commercially unviable were resurrected and mass-produced. Umbrella expanded sales quietly once conflicts tied to the War on Terror created demand for deniable weapons, and Umbrella was eager to supply them. Bioweapon combat deployments slowly became a reality, but were quietly halted every time they were exposed, including one in South America disrupted by Stratcom agent Leon Kennedy. To the public, bioorganic weapons remained a mere rumor, but the corporation's decline accelerated from within. By January of 2003, the Caucasus facility suffered an outbreak. Villagers in the surrounding area hired by Sergei Vladimir to guard Umbrella shipments and store hunter units for transfer were ultimately attacked. Attempting to flee, they sealed themselves inside buildings alongside infected victims, and the result was total collapse. The village was overrun and its population wiped out. This quickly drew the attention of opposing forces. Albert Wesker arrived first, extracting what he needed, and soon after, other forces followed.
Look at
Chris
this
Redfield
mofo.
and Jill Valentine identified the presence of an Umbrella base nearby, and shortly after, both forces converged on the facility and eliminated the mutants, Talos, and Sergei Vladimir. Umbrella's final manufacturing facility ceased to exist. Wesker escaped, but not empty-handed. He downloaded Umbrella's research archives before vanishing, carrying its knowledge into the next era of bioterror. For years, the corporation had fought a legal war in the United States, attempting to overturn the federal
I am locked in.
seizure of Umbrella USA and distance itself from Raccoon City. The stakes were existential. A loss would bankrupt the company through compensation claims alone. Two former employees testified, being Yoko Suzuki and Linda Baldwin, but Umbrella survived on a familiar strategy, being evasiveness. With falsified witnesses,
How much was Umbrella worth? Like, for them to be operating like this, they had global, like, yeah, this is insane.
and the absence of publicly admissible evidence, the corporation spent 4 years attempting to shift the blame onto the United States government, accusing it of orchestrating a cover-up to conceal its own bioweapons program. But then, the case ended abruptly when Albert Wesker intervened. Through a covert agreement, he provided excerpts from Umbrella's internal archives to the court, proof of direct corporate involvement in Raccoon City. The evidence was ruled valid, and after this verdict, Umbrella Pharmaceuticals and Umbrella Corporation declared bankruptcy. With the ruling finalized, American and Russian intelligence services launched an international manhunt for Oswald E. Spencer, seeking his arrest for crimes spanning the continents. Spencer vanished into hiding and would only be located years later. Umbrella's remaining subsidiaries
By
collapsed
who?
one by one. Its Japanese branch, among the last to survive, entered liquidation in March of 2004 when no corporation was willing to inherit its name. And with that, Umbrella Corporation was completely finished. Yet the damage it caused did not disappear with it. The viruses lived on, the data survived, and those who had learned from Umbrella would carry its work forward under new names. Umbrella was gone, but its legacy never truly went away. Click this video here to find out the entire story of Leon Kennedy.
Yo, okay, that was an awesome video. I learned so much stuff, dog. I feel all like, you know what I'm saying, just all knowledge up and whatnot. It's your boy, yo. Make sure y'all give this mofo a like, okay? You know what I'm saying? Get on a like, you know what I'm saying? Show some love, dude. They over here make some good ass videos, you know what I'm saying? It's your boy.